Commander Jack Reed stared through the viewport of his crashed ship as alien figures approached. Tall and slender with pale blue skin, they moved cautiously toward the wreckage, their 4 eyes wide with what Jack recognized as fear. He couldn't blame them. His emergency landing had carved a half-mile trench through their farmland, and the smoke billowing from his damaged engines must have been visible for dozens of miles. Jack ran a self-diagnostic through his exosuit. The nanomesh was holding, which was good news. He'd need the enhanced strength if he had any hope of surviving on this unknown world. Earth Command had lost contact with his scout ship shortly after he'd entered this system. No rescue would be coming anytime soon. The aliens outside were gesturing wildly now, pointing at his ship with their 3-fingered hands. Jack counted 7 of them, all dressed in simple garments that suggested an agricultural society. Their civilization had achieved spaceflight. He'd detected their satellites in orbit. But these individuals appeared to be farmers, not soldiers. Jack checked his translator implant. It would need time to analyze their language, but eventually, he'd be able to communicate. For now, he needed to establish contact without causing panic. "Here goes nothing," he muttered, cycling the airlock. The moment he stepped outside, the aliens recoiled. Their vocal organs, thin membranes on their necks, vibrated frantically. Jack raised his hands slowly, the universal gesture of peace. He'd been trained for first contact scenarios, but never like this. Never alone on an alien world with no backup. The tallest alien stepped forward, clutching what appeared to be a farming tool. It spoke, and Jack's implant began processing the sounds. Threat assessment. Minimal, his suit AI informed him. Local gravity. 0.82 Earth standard. Atmosphere. Breathable, but high in nitrogen. Recommend keeping helmet sealed. Jack nodded to the alien and tapped his chest. "Jack," he said clearly. "Human. From Earth." The alien tapped its own chest and made a sound like rushing water. Jack's implant provided a rough approximation. "Morel." For a moment, hope surged through Jack. Then he noticed more aliens arriving. These, wearing what appeared to be armor. Their weapons were unmistakable, even across the stars. Morel turned to them, gesturing frantically, and Jack's translator began picking up fragments. Not threat. Crashed. Alone. The armed aliens weren't listening. One of them aimed a weapon at Jack and barked an order. Jack's suit translated, "Do not move, monster." Monster. The word hit Jack harder than expected. He'd trained for hostility, for fear, but somehow being instantly categorized as a monster stung. He was just a human, a son of Earth, exploring the stars. The armed aliens approached, surrounding him. Jack noticed the farmers backing away, Morel casting a last glance at him before being ushered away. "I mean no harm," Jack said, though he knew his translator wasn't working fast enough yet to convert his words. One of the guards prodded him with a weapon. "Move," the translator interpreted. Jack complied, walking away from his ship with 6 weapons pointed at his back. As they marched him toward a waiting vehicle, Jack looked up at the alien sky. 2 moons hung overhead, and somewhere beyond them, impossibly far away, was Earth. He thought of the oceans where he'd learned to swim, the mountains he'd climbed, the cities he'd called home. To these beings, he was a monster from the stars. But in his heart, he was just a son of Earth, far from home. The cell they placed Jack in was surprisingly comfortable, with a bed-like platform and access to water. His captors had been careful but not cruel, scanning his exosuit thoroughly before leaving him alone. 3 days passed. Jack's translator continued analyzing the language from snippets of conversation he overheard from guards. His suit maintained its integrity, recycling waste and providing nutrients from emergency stores, but those wouldn't last forever. On the 4th day, the door opened to reveal a new figure. Unlike the guards with their military bearing, this alien wore flowing robes adorned with intricate patterns. 4 eyes studied Jack with unmistakable curiosity rather than fear. "You understand our words now?" the alien asked, and Jack's translator provided clear interpretation. "Yes," Jack replied. "My name is Jack Reed. I'm a human from planet Earth. I am Len, scientific advisor to the regional council." The alien's neck membranes vibrated in what Jack's translator suggested was thoughtful consideration. "Your arrival has caused disruption. It wasn't planned. Jack explained. My ship malfunctioned. The landing was emergency protocol. Len moved closer, examining Jack with professional interest. Your biology is unlike anything in our records. 2 eyes only. Dense musculature. And your suit. The materials are unknown to us. I'd be happy to share information, Jack said carefully. Cultural exchange is part of our contact protocols. The Council debates whether you are a threat, Len said. Many believe you are an advanced scout for invasion. Others think you might be a biological weapon. Jack shook his head. I'm an explorer. Earth sends ships like mine to discover new worlds, new civilizations. We seek knowledge and peaceful contact. Yet you are physically powerful, Len observed. Our scans show your strength exceeds our strongest warriors, even without your enhancement suit. Earth's gravity is stronger than yours, Jack explained, and humans evolved as persistence hunters. We're built for endurance and adaptability, not conquest. Len seemed to consider this. The farmers who found you, they reported you made no threatening moves, despite your capacity for violence. Violence is always the last resort, Jack said. My mission is to learn, not destroy. Interesting. Len activated a device that projected images of Jack's ship. Your vessel contains no weapon systems we can identify. This contradicts the military's assessment. Because it's not a warship, Jack confirmed. It's a scout vessel, designed for speed and data collection. Len's membranes vibrated rapidly. I have been granted permission to interview you thoroughly. If your answers satisfy the Council, you may be granted conditional freedom. I'll answer anything I can, Jack said, but I have questions too. Naturally. Len settled into a seated position. Your world, Earth. Tell me about it. Jack smiled sadly. Earth is beautiful. Oceans cover most of its surface. Mountains reach toward the sky. Deserts, forests, tundra. Incredible diversity of ecosystems. And the life forms, millions of species, from microscopic bacteria to massive whales swimming in the depths. And your civilization? Len asked. We're young as a spacefaring species, Jack admitted, but we've learned harsh lessons about resource management and cooperation. We nearly destroyed ourselves before we understood the fragility of our world. As he spoke about Earth, Jack felt a profound homesickness wash over him. To these aliens, he was an anomaly, a potential monster. But his identity remained unshakable. He was human, a son of Earth, carrying its legacy among the stars. Len listened intently, all 4 eyes focused on Jack's face. You speak of your world with what we would call love. Yes, Jack said simply. It's home. After weeks of interrogation, Jack was moved from his cell to a research facility on the outskirts of a sprawling city. His new quarters were spacious, with a window overlooking cultivated fields that stretched to distant purple mountains. The view reminded him painfully of Earth's countryside. Len had become his primary contact, bringing specialists who questioned Jack about human physiology, culture, technology, and history. Jack answered honestly, but carefully, following first contact protocols. Share knowledge but avoid providing information that could be weaponized. Your species is remarkably resilient, noted Trev, a medical researcher examining data from Jack's latest physical assessment. Your cellular repair mechanisms are highly efficient. Humans evolved on a challenging world, Jack explained. Predators, diseases, extreme weather, we adapted to survive. Yet you claim to be peaceful, said Drex, a security officer who attended most sessions. His distrust remained evident in his rigid posture. We're capable of violence, Jack acknowledged. Our history is marked by warfare, but we've learned from those mistakes. So you say, Drex replied skeptically. Jack had been allowed limited access to information about his hosts, who called themselves the Melanie. Their civilization was older than humanity's, with over 3,000 years of recorded history. They'd achieved spaceflight 5 centuries ago, but remained confined to their own solar system, establishing colonies on 2 neighboring planets. One morning, an alarm blared through the facility. Jack felt the ground shake as something exploded. Nearby, His door slid open and Len rushed in. "You must come quickly," the scientist urged. "The facility is under attack." "Who's attacking?" Jack asked, already activating his exosuit, which had been returned to him under strict monitoring conditions. "Separatists from the Northern Territories," Len explained as they hurried down a corridor. "They oppose all off-world contact. They've learned of your presence." Another explosion rocked the building. Through windows, Jack saw smoke rising from a collapsed section of the complex. "Your people," Jack began. "Most have evacuated," Len said. "But 3 researchers are trapped in the biocontainment lab. The security doors sealed automatically when the attack began. They reached a junction where Drex waited with several armed guards. The monster should return to containment," Drex ordered. "No time," Len countered. "The human suit gives him resistance to heat and smoke. He might reach the trapped researchers." Drex's membranes fluttered angrily. "And if he uses this opportunity to escape?" Jack stepped forward. "I give you my word. Show me where they're trapped, and I'll help." After a tense moment, Drex nodded sharply and led them to a sealed doorway beyond which flames were visible. "The lab is 30 meters down that corridor," Len explained. "The researchers have taken shelter in the sample vault, but oxygen is limited." Jack nodded. "My suit can withstand these temperatures. I'll get them out." Drex handed Jack a small device. "Communication unit. We'll guide you." As the doors opened, Jack faced intense heat and thick smoke. His suit's environmental systems activated, filtering the air and regulating his temperature. He pushed forward into the inferno, thinking not of escape, but of the trapped Melanie. In this moment, he wasn't thinking of himself as a representative of Earth or a prisoner on an alien world. He was simply a human, doing what humans did best, facing danger to help others, adapting to overcome obstacles, refusing to accept defeat. The Melanie saw a monster from the stars, but as Jack plunged into the flames, he knew what he truly was, a son of Earth, carrying humanity's best qualities into the vast unknown. The heat was overwhelming, even through Jack's protective suit. The corridor had partially collapsed, debris blocking his path. Through the flames, he could see where the lab entrance had been, now just a tangle of twisted metal. "The structural supports won't hold much longer." Drex's voice crackled through the communication device. "If you cannot reach them in 5 minutes, you must retreat." Jack didn't respond. Instead, he activated his suit's enhanced strength mode and began clearing the debris. Each piece of metal he moved caused more to shift precariously above him. "I see a way through," he reported, squeezing past a fallen beam. The suit's sensors identified a path to the vault where the researchers had taken refuge. When he reached the lab's inner door, he found it warped by heat, but still intact. The control panel was destroyed, but beside it was an emergency manual. "Release, designed for Melanie hands with 3 fingers, not human ones with 5. Jack improvised, using a piece of metal as a makeshift tool to trigger the mechanism. The door slid open partway, then jammed. Inside, 3 Melanie researchers huddled in an environmental chamber. Their membranes fluttered rapidly when they saw Jack, a reaction his translator interpreted as surprise or fear. "I'm here to help," he called out, forcing the door open wider with his enhanced strength. The oldest researcher stepped forward cautiously. "The human?" "Yes. We need to leave immediately. The building is collapsing." The researchers exchanged glances, clearly weighing their chances. Jack understood their hesitation, trapped between fire and a creature they'd been studying like a specimen. "Please," Jack said. "Trust me." The eldest nodded and led the others forward. Jack helped them navigate through the jammed doorway, then positioned himself to shield them from falling debris as they retraced his path through the burning corridor. When a support beam crashed down, Jack caught it, the exosuit straining as he held the weight to create a path for the Melanie. Pain shot through his shoulders as the suit's strength enhancement taxed his muscles beyond their limits. "Go!" he shouted, holding the beam as the researchers scrambled past. The moment they were clear, Jack released the beam and dove forward, narrowly avoiding being crushed as more of the ceiling collapsed behind him. They emerged from the burning section to find Drex and his security team waiting. The Melanie researchers were quickly ushered to medical personnel while Jack sank to his knees, exhaustion washing over him. To his surprise, Drex approached and offered a hand to help him up, a gesture Jack recognized as significant, given the security officer's previous hostility. "You could have fled," Drex said simply. Jack shook his head. That wasn't an option. Later, as a medic treated the burns Jack had sustained despite his suit's protection, Len visited him. "The council has been informed of your actions," the scientist said. "It has altered perspectives. I just did what needed doing," Jack replied. "Perhaps," Len said thoughtfully, "but it reveals something important about your species. You risked your life for those who have kept you captive." Jack looked out the window at the smoke still rising from the damaged facility. "Humans have a saying, actions speak louder than words. I've told you who we are. Today, I showed you." Len's membranes vibrated in what Jack had come to recognize as agreement. "Indeed, and what your actions showed us is that perhaps we have been wrong to see a monster when we look at you." Jack smiled tiredly. "We all fear what we don't understand. It's a trait humans share with the Melanie, it seems." "Rest now," Len said, moving toward the door. "Tomorrow the council wishes to speak with you. Not as a prisoner, but as a visitor. From Earth." As Jack drifted towards sleep, he thought about home. Not just Earth as a planet, but humanity as a whole. Whatever happened next, he had represented his species with courage and compassion. A son of Earth, making first contact in the best tradition of his people. The council chamber was a vast circular room with tiered seating rising in concentric rings. Hundreds of Milani officials watched as Jack was escorted to the central platform. Without restraints or armed guards, Jack felt a weight lifting from his shoulders. The first true progress since his crash landing 2 months earlier. 7 council elders sat on an elevated dais. Their robes, more elaborate than any Jack had seen, sparkled with embedded crystals that caught the light from the domed ceiling above. The chief elder rose. "Human Jack Reed, we have reviewed the reports of your actions during the attack on our research facility. 3 of our citizens owe their lives to your intervention." Jack nodded respectfully. "I'm glad I could help." "This council has also examined the data from your vessel," the elder continued. "We believe your account of an accidental arrival is truthful. Therefore, we have reached a decision regarding your status." Jack held his breath. "You will no longer be considered a prisoner, but an honored guest of the Milani people." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Not all voices sounded pleased. "Thank you," Jack said sincerely. "I hope this marks the beginning of friendship between our worlds." The chief elder raised a hand. "However, there are conditions. You will remain under observation. Certain areas of our world will be restricted, and we require your assistance in understanding your technology, particularly your faster-than-light travel capabilities." Jack had anticipated this. "I'm happy to share knowledge, but some technical details of our propulsion systems are classified. I don't have the authority to reveal them." A different elder leaned forward. "Yet you claim to come in peace. How can we trust when you withhold?" "Trust is built gradually," Jack replied. "Earth would welcome official contact with the Milani. Our governments could establish proper diplomatic relations and negotiate technology exchange agreements. And if your Earth decides we are not worthy of such exchange," the elder challenged. Jack chose his words carefully. "Earth doesn't judge civilizations by their technological achievement, but by their values. What I've seen of the Milani, your art, your care for your environment, your governance systems, suggests we share many core principles." This appeared to satisfy most of the council, though Jack noticed several members exchanging skeptical glances. The chief elder spoke again. "We have prepared quarters for you in the diplomatic district. You will have limited freedom to move about the city, accompanied by guides. Your ship remains under study, but personal items will be returned." It was more than Jack had hoped for. "I'm grateful for your hospitality." As the formal proceedings concluded, Jack was introduced to Kel, a cultural liaison assigned to help him navigate Melanie's society. Unlike the scientists who had studied him as a specimen, Kel seemed genuinely enthusiastic about learning from Jack. "Your quarters have been adapted to accommodate your physiology," Kel explained as they traveled through the city in a hovering transport. "We studied the living space in your vessel to approximate human comfort requirements." Jack looked out at the Milani capital, a sprawling metropolis of spiraling towers and suspended gardens. Unlike human cities with their right angles and grid patterns, Milani architecture favored curves and organic shapes that mimicked natural formations. "It's beautiful," Jack said honestly. "Many still fear you," Kel warned. The attack on the research facility was not an isolated incident. There are those who believe any contact with alien species will contaminate our culture. Humans have faced similar fears, Jack admitted. Change is difficult for any civilization. When they reached his new quarters, Jack found a spacious apartment, with furniture modified to accommodate his human frame. Most touching was a viewing chamber oriented toward a specific point in the night sky. "We calculated the position of your solar system," Kel explained. "When darkness falls, you can look toward your home." That night, after Kel departed, Jack stood at the viewer for hours, staring at the distant stars. Somewhere in that cosmic ocean was Earth, perhaps already mounting a search mission, unaware that he had survived. As a son of Earth far from home, Jack felt the weight of his responsibility. He was no longer just a scout or a survivor. He had become humanity's first ambassador to the Milani people. And despite the challenges ahead, he was determined to make Earth proud. Over the following weeks, Jack's status evolved from curiosity to reluctant celebrity. His guides couldn't prevent Milani citizens from staring as he walked through the city's markets and parks. Children were particularly fascinated, often following, at a safe distance before being hurried away by nervous parents. "They call you the Star Walker," Kel informed him one day as they visited a botanical garden showcasing plants from across the Milani territories. "It's becoming a popular term in public discourse. Better than monster," Jack remarked with a wry smile. His technical sessions with Milani scientists had proven productive. While respecting Earth Command's security protocols, Jack shared insights on environmental management, medicine, and sustainable agriculture. In return, the Milani offered knowledge of their atmospheric engineering and biodegradable materials, technologies Earth could desperately use. As barriers lowered, Jack learned more about Milani culture. Their society emphasized community harmony and environmental stewardship, with decisions made collectively through representatives chosen for their wisdom rather than ambition. Violence was rare, though the separatist attack had demonstrated that even this peaceful civilization harbored divisions. 4 months after his crash landing, Jack received a message from Len requesting an urgent meeting at the Scientific Directorate. He arrived to find not only Len, but also Drex and several council members waiting. "We've detected an object approaching our system," Len announced without preamble. "Its trajectory and speed signature match your descriptions of Earth vessels." Jack's heart raced. "A rescue mission?" "Possibly," Drex said, his tone cautious. "Or perhaps verification that you have not returned as scheduled." The implications hung heavy in the air. If Earth Command had sent a military vessel to investigate Jack's disappearance, first contact could quickly become confrontational. "I need to send a message," Jack said firmly. "If that's an Earth ship, they need to know I'm alive and being treated as a guest, not a prisoner." The Milani exchanged glances. The chief counselor stepped forward. "We have prepared a communication array capable of transmitting on your frequencies, but we must review any message before it is sent." Jack nodded. "Of course, but we need to act quickly." Earth protocols would treat silence as a sign of hostile action. For the next several hours, Jack worked with Milani technicians to configure their transmission equipment. When ready, he recorded a carefully worded message identifying himself, explaining his situation, and emphasizing the peaceful nature of the Milani civilization. "Commander Reed to Earth vessel. My scout ship crashed on this planet due to drive malfunction. I am unharmed and have established peaceful contact with the indigenous civilization, the Milani. They are non-hostile and technologically advanced. Request diplomatic protocols for formal first contact. Approaching with weapons armed would constitute a grave misunderstanding." After the council approved the transmission, Jack waited anxiously by the communication array. 3 days passed with no response. The approaching ship continued on its course toward the Milani system. On the 4th day, as tension mounted, the array activated. A burst of data resolved into a familiar voice. Captain Laura Morgan, Jack's former commanding officer. "Reed, you magnificent bastard. Half the fleet thought you were dead. Stand by for approach coordinates. We're sending a diplomatic team to back you up." Relief flooded through Jack. The Milani technicians translated the message, and word quickly spread to the Council. Within hours, preparations were underway for the official first contact between Earth and the Milani world. That evening, Jack stood on the balcony of his quarters, looking up at the stars. Soon, he would see human faces again, hear human voices. But he realized something had changed within him. He was still a son of Earth, but he had become something more, a bridge between worlds. Kel joined him on the balcony. "Are you eager to rejoin your people?" Jack considered the question carefully. "Yes, but I'm not the same person who crashed here. I've learned too much, seen too much." "You fear they will not understand what you have become?" "I fear they'll miss what I've found here," Jack admitted. "Earth has a history of misunderstanding the different, the alien. I don't want us to repeat old mistakes." Kel's membranes vibrated with what Jack now recognized as gentle humor. "Then it is fortunate that the first human the Milani encountered was one who could teach us to see beyond our fears." Jack smiled. "That works both ways, my friend." As night deepened, they stood in companionable silence, two sentient beings from different worlds, watching the stars that had once separated their peoples but now brought them together. The Earth diplomatic vessel. Horizon entered orbit 1 week later. Jack stood on the landing platform with a delegation of Milani officials, his heart pounding as the shuttle descended through wisps of purple clouds. After 6 months on an alien world, he was about to see human faces again. The shuttle settled onto the platform with a soft hiss. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the hatch opened, and Captain Morgan emerged, flanked by 2 officers and what Jack recognized as the distinctive attire of Earth Diplomatic Corps representatives. "Commander Reed," Morgan called, crossing the platform with long strides. "You look surprisingly well for a man we declared probably dead." Jack saluted sharply, then accepted her extended hand. The simple human contact, 5 fingers grasping, 5 fingers, nearly overwhelmed him with emotion. "Captain, allow me to introduce Chief Counselor Vren of the Milani Unity." The formalities that followed were a blur of introductions and careful diplomatic language. The Earth delegates had been well briefed based on Jack's transmissions, and they navigated the exchange with professional skill. Still, Jack noticed their subtle reactions. The barely concealed wonder at the Milani physiology, the careful maintenance of personal space, the occasional glances at Jack as if confirming he was still fully human. Later, aboard the Horizon for debriefing, Jack sat across from Morgan and Ambassador Collins in the ship's conference room. Earth coffee, a luxury he'd desperately missed, steamed in a mug before him. "Your reports were thorough," Collins acknowledged, "but High Command has questions about your integration with the Milani. You seem comfortable with them." Jack sipped his coffee before answering. "I've had 6 months to adapt, Ambassador. They're different, yes, but not incomprehensibly so. They feel fear, hope, curiosity, the same emotions that drive humans." "And your assessment of their technology?" Morgan asked. "Advanced in some areas, behind in others. They have much to offer Earth, and vice versa. Their atmospheric engineering alone could help address our climate challenges." Collins nodded thoughtfully. "The preliminary agreements you brokered show promise. Still, there are factions at home concerned about exposing Earth to alien influence." Jack wasn't surprised. The Milani have similar factions, but isolation isn't an option for either civilization in the long term. High Command is particularly interested in your experience as their captive, Morgan said carefully. Jack set down his mug. "I was never mistreated. They feared what they didn't understand, just as humans would have done in their position. Once that fear diminished, they treated me with respect, and eventually friendship." The ambassador leaned forward. "You understand that your unique position makes you invaluable to Earth-Milani relations. We'd like you to remain here as part of the diplomatic mission." It was the outcome Jack had hoped for, though he hadn't dared expect it. "I'd be honored, Ambassador." The formal signing of the First Contact Treaty took place 3 days later in the Council chamber. Jack stood with representatives from both worlds as Earth and Milani leaders established the framework for ongoing relations. The document acknowledged past misunderstandings and committed both species to peaceful cooperation. After the ceremony, Jack found Len, Kel, and even the once suspicious Drex waiting to speak with him. "So you will stay," Len observed, "as a bridge between worlds." Jack nodded. "There's still so much work to do." Drex, now head of diplomatic security, had mellowed considerably since their first encounter. The Separatists remain a concern. Some still see all outsiders as threats. "Both our peoples have those who fear the unknown," Jack acknowledged. "Change takes time." Kel gestured toward where human and Melanie diplomats were cautiously mingling. "Already they learn from each other. Your Captain Morgan has quite impressed the Science Council with her questions." As evening approached, Jack excused himself and made his way to a quiet garden overlooking the city. The first stars were appearing in the deepening purple sky. Soon, both of Milani's moons would rise, casting their blue-tinted light across the landscape. He thought about his journey, from crashed survivor to prisoner to diplomat. The Melanie had first seen him as a monster, a dangerous alien whose differences made him a threat. Now he walked freely among them, respected and even admired by many. Jack had never lost sight of who he was, a son of Earth, carrying humanity's legacy among the stars. But he had become something more, living proof that differences could be bridges rather than barriers. In the growing twilight, Jack Reed stood between two worlds, his past and his future, his birth planet and his adopted home. And in that moment, looking toward the stars where Earth shone as just another distant point of light, he felt a profound sense of purpose. They had seen a monster. He had seen himself as a son of Earth. Now, together, they would forge a shared future among the stars.